There's three equations, all right, that over the last, I guess it's our third week, over the last 2 weeks that we've discussed. The first one is the value proposition equation. Again, the name of this month is the art of providing value. In order to talk about that art, let's define what value means. As y'all know, the value proposition equation is under promise times over deliver equals exceeding expectations. You're looking to provide value, want to know what it means. Providing value is exceeding expectations. How do we provide value? Under promising multiplied by over delivering. The product of your under promise and your over delivery is how you exceed expectations and thus provide value. And then that same week that we introduced the concept of the value proposition equation, we talked about the under promise equation. In case y'all connecting the dots, UP, that is a U, not a V. Okay? So trying to take this step by step. And we said that the under promise equation is the product of your capacity and the black tax. Your capacity and the black tax. And we understand that that same week, we did a really deep dive into what the black tax was, what the black tax meant. There's a lot of different definitions for the black tax. We can all agree that there's a tax. While black is a blessing, black is definitely a blessing. Everybody don't see it as a blessing. Some folks see it as a burden. And we understand when we're crafting our promise that when multiplied by our over delivery will exceed expectations to provide value. When we're crafting it under promise, we got to multiply that black tax by our capacity in order to get our promise. And then last week on Zoom, which wasn't nearly as lively as these conversations, I talked about the over delivery multiplier. The over delivery multiplier. Remember, first week we talked about under promise. What does this mean? We broke it down. But then there's an entire equation. So I say, well, all right, Brother Murdoch, let's break down what we're talking about with over delivery. All right, what's over delivery? And we said that when you've got to be twice as good to be seen as half as great, multiply your over delivery by 8. That's the bar. I think that sounds a hell of a lot better than the way I explained it last week, but I'm going to say that again. The over delivery multiplier is always a multiplier of 8, because when you got to be twice as good to be seen as half as great, multiply it by 8. Multiply it by 8. There was one additional nuance that we gave last week that just gave some more context as to this over delivery multiplier situated inside of this value proposition equation. And that being, when you multiply your promise, that under promise, by that over delivery, it should never exceed your capacity. When you take that offer that ultimately provides value to your customer, that should never, ever exceed your capacity. And we understand that if you're over delivery multiplier, that thing you multiply your promise by is always 8. Because when failure is the standard, when failure is the expectation, exceeding is the standard, we got to multiply by 8 whenever we under promise. That cannot exceed our capacity. That also means that black tax piece that we talked about right here, the nature of that under promise, that black tax should never exceed 12.5%. When you divide 100 by 8, you get 12.5%. That's where I got that number from. That's not an arbitrary number. That's breaking down. That's making this make sense. And the whole reason why I've tried to give different equations for each of these is not to make you nervous about math, because that's not my goal. But these are concepts. These are principles that can be applied at any part of the building of your business, your brand, or your community. And when we understand the depth, the breadth, the nuance of these concepts, no one can put a cap on the products, on the services that your brand, business, or community can create.